Victor Kiprop is on standby, and the government has issued a fresh 210 billion shilling Eurobond despite growing concerns over the sustainability of the country's public debt levels amid a slowdown in the revenue growth. Now, this is the issuance of Kenya's third Eurobond in 5 years, and its proceeds will be used to finance infrastructure projects, support the general budgetary expenditure, and repay the maturing loans, according to a statement by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich. Business reporter Victor Kiprop now joins us live from the newsroom with a live report on this. And Victor, good morning. Inevitably, this new Eurobond has pushed up the already heavy public debt.
Well, a very good morning to you, Ken. Of course, a new 200 billion shillings load added to the already huge or described as huge public debt levels. Estimations are at between about 5.3 to 5.6 trillion shillings. That's the current public debt level, which many analysts have, of course, described as unsustainable, asking the government to perhaps go slow on borrowing. But the biggest news of the moment, of course, Ken, is the government has gone back to the international market for its third Eurobond in 5 years, this time around coming back with 210 billion shillings. Remember, the country went to the international market for the first time in 2014. We came back with 275 billion shillings in our first Eurobond. And then we went back in February 2018, that's last year, for another 200 billion shillings. And this year, this is May 2019, the government has went back for another 210 billion shillings, which of course will be divided in dual tranches of 7-year and 12-year. The 7-year is at 7% and the 12-year at 8%. And according to the official statement sent by the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Henry Rotich, the proceeds will be used to finance infrastructure projects, that is current infrastructure projects, and general budget expenditures, and of course repay maturing loans, that including the 2014 Eurobond. The 75 billion shillings bit is maturing or is falling due this June, Ken, and this is estimated to take the country's, the amount the country spends in repaying loans every year to past 1 trillion shillings, according to the budget statement, the 2019-2020 budget statement presented to the National Assembly by Leader of Majority Eden Duale. Beginning next year, the country will be spending about 1 trillion shillings servicing debts alone. So for a country that already has a budget of about 3 trillion shillings, we will be spending about a third of it to repay existing loans, and that goes to show you just how much the country has been gobbling up domestic and international debt in recent years. Something else to note, Ken, is that the government went for this loan despite the fact that the International Monetary Fund withdrew the 100 million shillings cautionary facility that it normally gives countries. This was withdrawn in September last year. Analysts had predicted that this could affect the rates at which this and the premiums with which this new Eurobond will be given. But according to Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Henry Rotich, he describes the this rates as favorable. And that is to say that the country's overall public debt currently stands at between 5.3 and 5.6 trillion shillings. With this new borrowing, Ken, the level of public debt in the country, of course, keeps going higher, and it goes beyond the recommended levels by economists and analysts and experts, which considering the country's current debt to GDP ratio is already over 50%. Most of them have been warning that the government needs to slow down on borrowing. Of course, being opposed strongly by the government led by CS Henry Rotich, who maintains that the levels of borrowing in the country are sustainable. So we will be able to calculate and come back with the the current now debt to GDP ratio with this new additional borrowing. But considering that much of it is going to actually go back to already to repaying already existing debts, we believe and estimate that it may the debt to GDP ratio may not be affected as such, but of course that will be confirmed in our subsequent bulletins, Ken.
All right, so Kiprop, in essence, what they're doing is to borrow to pay what they borrowed last time, and this is an average of about 150 billion per year if you calculate it across the 5 years. And tell me something, as you go and do that calculation, Kiprop, the average debt that each Kenyan still owes the external lenders is still about 100,000 shillings. If you divide what we owe, about 5.3 trillion, with a population that is heading to 50 million, right?
Yeah. So, of course, that's a very good way of playing with the numbers, Ken. I am so surprised. But yeah, we keep updating these calculations. Then it was over 100 and I think about 114,000 shillings owed by every Kenyan to our international debtors, that is. But this number will keep growing, Ken. Consider as long as the government continues to borrow, you should consider that the future generation will have a bigger amount to pay for loans which they probably did not even see or were not even there being borrowed, Ken.
Yes, but at least they'll have an opportunity to enjoy the infrastructure. Thanks so much, Victor Kiprop.